Right, so now we begin Al-Anbiya, which is chapter 21. The first thing we need to know about Al-Anbiya is that it contains the word dhikr, I think about 6 times. So dhikr is a great focus of this chapter. What is the purpose of dhikr? The Quran, as we know, calls itself the Quran al-Mubin. The clear Quran is the dhikr, as we've seen in chapter 15. So dhikr is essentially the Quran, but it's also the vivification of Allah in our lives. Aqim as-salata lil-dhikri, as we've seen in the previous chapter, Taha. So the beginning of this chapter is أَقْتَرَبَ لِلنَّاسِ حِسَابُهُمْ, comes closer and closer to the people, their judgment. وَهُمْ فِي غَفْلَةٍ مُعْرِضُونَ, and yet they are in a state of heedlessness, and they are those who turn away. مَنْ يَأْتِهِمْ مِنْ ذِكْرِ مِنْ رَبِّهِ مُحْدَثٍ إِلَّا أَسْتَمَعَهُ وَهُمْ يَلْعَبُونَ. Never comes to them a dhikr from their Lord which is renewed. So we see new revelations coming, but they refuse to listen and they are in jest. So this is the opening theme of this chapter. Right, now we come to verse 7, which says, before you we also sent none other than Rijal, independent people, whom we granted inspiration. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ, so ask those of the dhikr if you do not know. So again, it talks about a-dhikr. And a-dhikr here is the Quran. So if you refer back to the Quran, you will see the stories of the previous messengers. Verse 10 talks about dhikr again, this time the dhikr of us. لَقَدْ أَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكُمْ كِتَابًا, verily we have descended to you a book. فِيهِ ذِكْرُكُمْ, in it is your eminence, your vivification. So we are to take this book and to vivify ourselves. So we have now become the dhikr. أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ, will you not think? So that's the first thing you need to do. You need to think about the dhikr. Next we come to Musa and the dhikr again. It says in verse 48, وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا مُوسَى وَهَارُونَ الْفُرْقَانَ وَضِيَاءً وَذِكْرًا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ, verily we gave Musa and Harun the Furqan. Remember that the Quran is the Furqan as well. وَضِيَاءً, a lamp. وَذِكْرًا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ, and a vivification for those who take God. Then it says, those who fear their Lord in their most secret thoughts and hold the hour. The hour is the time where God comes, the meeting with Allah. They hold it in great esteem. Then it brings us to the Quran. So once again, Musa is mentioned very close by with the Quran, as we've noticed in a few occasions now. It says, وَهَذَا ذِكْرٌ, and this is a vivification, a dhikrun, mubarakun. So it's blessed, it will grow. أَنزَلْنَهُ, which we descended. So will you then reject it? So why would you reject something which will bring you growth? So this is what Allah is asking. So here we can see again that it's talking about Musa with his book and the dhikr, and this is a dhikr as well. So it's another aspect. As soon in other chapters we will see the Musa and the Quran again. Then from verse 51 to verse 75 is the story of Ibrahim, with a special focus on Ibrahim's confrontation with his people after he destroyed their imagery. So this again, we have to see, this is part of the preparation of dhikr. Dhikr, which brings man to life, can only be performed when we smash the imageries in our lives. Verse 76 to 77 talks about Nuh in a very brief form again, just like Musa earlier. Then it talks, verse 78 to 79 talks about Sulaiman and Dawood and tells us of their kingdom. So this is the first time that we can see a little bit of disclosure about Dawood and Sulaiman's kingdom. Why is this mentioned here? Well, again, this is the effect of the dhikr. Next, various other prophets are mentioned, such as Dhun-Nun, which people say is Yunus, Zachariah, Maryam and Isa, although not by name. Then the summation of this is the Ummah Wahida. In verse 92, it says, Inna hadhihi ummatukum, verily this your ummah, your nation, Ummah Wahida is a single nation, wa ana rabbukum, and I am your Lord, fa'budun, so serve me. This echoes chapter 20 verse 114, as you can see. So there is a thematic similarity, as I said before. Then Allah says, وَتَقَطَّعُوا أَمْرُهُمْ بَيْنَهُمْ. So the later generations cut off these affairs. Yet, كُلُّ إِلَيْنَا رَاجِعُونَ, they will return to Allah, all of them. So the closing of this chapter is actually the Quran and the application of the Quran. It says in verse 105, وَلَقَدْ كَتَبْنَا فِي الزَّبُورِ مِنْ بَعْدِ الذِّكْرِ أَنَّ الْأَرْضُ يَرِثُونَ عِبَادِيَ الصَّالِحُونَ. Verily we have written in Az-Zubur, the institutions which are مِنْ بَعْدِ الذِّكْرِ, after the fertilization of a-dhikr. A-dhikr, as we have seen, is the teachings of the Quran, is the recitation, the Quran al-Mubin as well. That the servants of Allah who are as-salihun, who are constantly correcting themselves, correcting society, they will inherit the earth. Inna fi hadha labalagha liqawmin abidin. Verily in this is a reaching for those who are the servants, the people who are servants. Then it says, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. This is a very famous verse. It says, we have sent you not except as a rahmah to al-alameen. So a rahmah is one who acts like a womb. He evolves society. So as you can see, so it's not like you plant the dhikr in the institutions and then you start controlling people. No, rather you start evolving people. You act as agents of evolution to the people. So this is essentially the end of the chapter. So this chapter, as we can see, is about dhikr. Dhikr is the Quran, is the message of the Quran, is in the institutions which we propagate, and we can see in the stories of the messengers as well. From Ibrahim to Dawood to Sulaiman to Dhun-Nun and others as well. So there we've come to the end of Al-Anbiya. Let's move on to Al-Hajj.